aim to encourage greater local and foreign investment and private sector participation in infrastructure development. Today's approval of the new IFP list and the amendments to the NEDA JV guidelines is a giant step toward our goal of elevating our competitiveness as we promote the Philippines as a prime investment destination in the region. We will connect and integrate markets to enable access to more opportunities for local industries, enhance the productivity of our young and vibrant labor force, and create safer infrastructure for future generations. Ultimately, we wish to improve the overall quality of life for all Filipinos and empower every citizen to live a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. Thank you.
Let me just announce the opening of the floor. Is the microphone already working? Yeah, better? Oh, it is. Okay, Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi sir, magandang umaga po. Sir, following the approval of the new IFP list, how will this help the unemployment situation in the country?
It's working? It's working. Hindi pa.
Definitely, this IFP, and especially once they are rolled out, implemented, will boost employment opportunities because these are investments, these are construction. There will be construction activities, massive construction activities, and that will improve the investment climate in the country so that more investors can come in, both domestic and foreign, and the current investors can expand their operations. Those will create jobs. So the whole purpose of putting this in place and to roll them as fast as we can is to generate employment opportunities so that we can also achieve our poverty reduction goal at, reduce it to single-digit level by 2028.
Sir, do we have a rough estimate as to how many Filipinos will benefit from this in terms of employment? Gaano karami po yung pwedeng mabigyan ng trabaho?
We don't have specific numbers here, but as we all know, when you have major infrastructure projects that directly will generate employment, but more importantly, those will generate job opportunities because, as I said, that will reduce the cost of doing business in the country, that will make our investment climate more attractive because then this so-called infrastructure deficits that we have and the gaps between us and our neighbors in terms of the quality and cost of our infrastructure services will be reduced, no? And that improves our attractiveness as an investment destination.
Chona Yu of Inquirer Radio.
Sir, good morning. Out of 194 projects approved by the NEDA, how many projects are under the Marcos administration and what are these projects po?
There are 123 of those 194 projects that are new. They were initiated and began to be funded during this administration. Some of the examples that I provided earlier, like the Naya rehabilitation, the North Long Haul Railway that should bring the railway from Manila all the way to the Ilocos region, all the way to the Cagayan Valley, and as well as that the Metro Cebu Rail expressway that I mentioned earlier. So these are just a few of the examples that we have. There are 123 in the list, and we will be posting this list. If not today, you'll get it by tomorrow. We're just cleaning them up.
Sir, just a follow-up on that. Out of the 123 projects, ilan doon ang matatapos bago or matapos yung kanyang administration?
we don't have the count yet, but the whole intention is to complete many of them as much as possible. But these are long-term projects, like the North Long Railway that I mentioned. That will involve several years of development, just like what we have with the subway. The subway, was started by the Duterte administration, right? And as we see it now, maybe we completed that in 2027, 2028, no? So that's how, and that's only Metro Manila. How much more to, bring the railway services all the way to the Cagayan Valley.
Okay, Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
So, Secretary, doon sa projects, there are 194 of them. I understand masyadong madami. Can you just give us at least yung five biggest projects na nandun sa priority list and how much?
The priority list, again, includes the ongoing ones because you have heard the President early on saying that those projects that were initiated began in the previous administration, to the extent that they are useful for the economy, for our society, must be continued. And so many of these projects remain flagship projects, okay? And the big ones there are under the previous administrations, the subway. Is going to cost a lot of still money. The other one is although initiated much earlier on, this Clark commuter railway, Clark to Manila, and then all the way to Los Baños. So those are big ones too. We'll be pushing as well the railway all the way to the Bicol region. I don't have the amount here with me, but you can see that eventually in our website. We'll be posting the approved list eventually.
So, of those projects, Sec, ilan po yung kayang matapos next year, yung mas mabilis matapos? Kasi people will be asking when can we feel
in the next
benefits?
couple of years, you should be seeing many of this already in operational. For example, irrigation projects. Many of these are irrigation projects. Health projects. We are including the cancer center that we approved last time. That's now going, and we hope to have that in the next 3-4 years. What included here also is another Philippine General Hospital in UP Diliman. Those can move pretty quickly because those are PPP, private partnership projects, and this will not involve much right-of-way acquisition, so they can be quite quick. Where we may be encountering a bit of difficulty will be those areas where we have to acquire right-of-way. But even then, part of the approval of the decision by the and the directive of the President this morning was to ask ARTA to issue or to ensure that the agencies who are involved with issuance of permits, licenses, and that they have to give priority to these IFPs, because in the past these have been some of the bottlenecks. Agencies are so slow in issuing the required permits and licenses. So we are undoing many of those problems there.
Quick follow-up na lang, Sec. Can you just give us yung parang basic or yung main features nung revised guidelines dun sa joint venture? Ano po yung mga, I suppose may mga layers na inalis?
Well, the one that what we are addressing there are, number one is to simplify the joint ventures. Again, to make sure that the joint ventures can move efficiently and quickly and will address the public interest concerns, and so we are the amendments will involve putting in place features that improve the competitive processes in the selection of joint joint venture partners, no? So in other words, hindi lutong Macau yung mga JVs, kundi properly competed by offer in competition. There will be proper checks and balances in the governance of JVs, and aligning the rules and the guidelines with the approved guidelines for the BOT law implementing rules and regulations, no? Dun sa PPP guidelines that we approved earlier this year, no? and last year, no? So the PPP governance has been improving, and we want to ensure that the JVs, the guidelines for the JVs, will also move in the same direction.
Eden Santos, Net 25.
Hi. Secretary, good morning po. You said that these infra projects will give quality jobs to Filipinos. What kind of quality jobs are you referring to? And before kasi po may mga incident na yung mga contractor partners are bringing their nationals to work dun sa mga infra projects.
No, when we say quality jobs, we mean jobs that could provide you decent wages and not just unemployment of 1 hour or 2 hours a day. In our statistics, if you are employed for 1 hour a day, employed ka na, no? And so we are looking at jobs that where wages can really be at a level that make households, individuals keep afford a decent living, can adequate enough to send their children to school, to afford basic services. So in a sense, what that means is we must be able to generate jobs, and the only way you can generate jobs that are of high quality is when you get investments. And as I said earlier, one of the constraints faced by our investors or faced by the country in attracting investment is the quality of our infrastructure, the poor quality of our infrastructure and the services, the high cost of doing business in the country. So this infrastructure program is meant to address that infrastructure deficits that we have in this country, so that investors can see us as a viable destination for their investment. That way, jobs, opportunities can improve. So if plants, if their investors come in to set up their factories, there will be more, better quality jobs. Better because when you're employed there, it's 8 hours a day. You get it's not 1 hour a day, and you get all the benefits. So those are the kind of jobs that we want, not the jobs that you get. Incidentally, when you're peddling cigarette in the street, that's a job, but that's not the kind of job that we would want our children to have.
Secretary, another issue lang po. Plano po ng TUCP na maghain ng panibagong wage increase petition po. Ang tanong po ay, kaya po ba ng gobyerno natin na mapagbigyan ito, even yung kanilang hinihinging cash assistance or ayuda po ulit? Like yung camp before, sabi nila ngayon tatawagin lang BBM, ayuda para sa mga manggagawang Pilipino or BAMP.
Ang trust natin as much as possible is to generate jobs, opportunities that will last long, are sustainable, and so that our workers can earn sufficient, can have wages that can comfortably support their needs. We are aware that there are petitions for minimum wages, and there are rules under the law that need to be factored in, determined. There are factors that need to be considered in the approval of such petitions. don't want to preempt that, but certainly one of those conditions that I read in the law is that the such or the decision must take into account the impact of that and the economy and local economies in particular, to make sure that you don't create unnecessary disincentives for again investors to come in here, or to investors to expand, because you make you price yourself too high relative to your productivity. I maintain that and that's the very purpose of this infrastructure program, is it helps our workers realize higher productivity when you get this kind of infrastructure support and investment, and that's what is required to get wages rise on a sustained basis.
Dan Osorio, Global Daily Mirror.
Good afternoon, sir. In view of NEDA's discouragement in raising minimum wages and with the now proposed number of long-term projects, what is the earliest possible prediction of the economic state being in equilibrium from inflation following the suggested increase in labor and employment demand?
What is the long-term? What's the equilibrium? Yeah. As of now, this morning you must have seen the new employment data, no? And what you have seen in the employment data is unemployment decrease further, no? And the quality of that job, as indicated in the underemployment data, is improving, no? Now, of course, while that is happening, we still have the inflation concern, no? And it's still a challenge for us to address the inflation, and we must. I mean, realistically, the inflation issue is something that cannot be handled very quickly. And I say very quickly, not tomorrow, not but we are certainly putting in place measures that will address that will arrest those upticks in prices, and in the meantime also provide assistance to those who are most vulnerable, no, in our society, particularly in our with respect to food prices.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we have Ivan Mayrina of GMA 7.
Secretary, there's a proposal from the Department of Energy to move work in office hours in government offices from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Mondays to Thursdays, and work from home arrangements on Fridays. What do you think of this? Will this benefit the economy, and how will this impact productivity?
Well, in general, what that move is trying to address is conservation. You want to, because of the as you see, a part of the upticks, the sources of the inflation is the high cost of energy, and we do think that we can reconfigure our work environment so that we could reduce energy use. No? I think that there's wisdom to that. In many countries, they do adjust the working time, no? Depending on the season of the year. So I think it's high time that we do that. One of the other things that DOE is also pushing for is the increase in the room temperature from 24 to 25. Why are we adopting at 24 and it's so cold here, right? So you're wasting a lot of energy when 25 is supposedly is comfortable, right? So I think we can save a lot from doing that. So with respect to the work from home, I think that's what the pandemic has taught us is there's possibilities for that depending on the agency concerned. For those who are basically research-oriented, like one of the attached agencies to our office, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, most of them are on our work from home because they can do their work there. But for many agencies who are involved in providing services to the public, frontline agencies, can't do that, right? So you have to be out there. So we have to be a little bit more. But I think many agencies are already adopting at least once a week work from home. So far as I know, so I think it's probably nothing new there. But I think the workspace is evolving, and we should be amenable to those changes.
So, sorry, productivity, Secretary. Hindi ko kaya maapektuhan yung productivity, lalo na with 1 day less of actual, physical work in
That would
offices.
have, the agencies would have to assess their respective their circumstances, whether that will affect their productivity. But I think what you are pointing out is there are coordination issues that have to be resolved. Like for example, when there are already 4 days in a week. Then all these meetings that were previously spread 5 days a week will now be compressed into 4 days, and that might cause problems. Those meetings will be delayed, and so solutions to problems will be delayed, and those are the inefficiencies that may arise. We have to take that into account. That's precisely the kind of argument that I made to my office, NEDA. I said NEDA is a service agency, and we coordinate many meetings where the secretariat of so many agencies. We can't afford to have a work from home. That's not. We can ask the other agencies to adjust to our schedule. That will induce or introduce inefficiencies in the workplace and in the entire government.
Thank you. Alvin Baltasar, PBS.
Magandang umaga po, Ma'am Daphne. Secretary, good morning po. Secretary, ask ko lang po kung ano yung mga problema na ina-anticipate natin amid the 194 infrastructure projects. Kasi if I remember right, Secretary, sa past administration mo, kung nagkaroon sila ng problema doon sa right-of-way, ano po yung mga ina-anticipate natin?
Yeah. In the discussions this morning with the President, we actually presented those issues, the potential risk to delays, and we have identified measures that we will need to put in place to ensure that those delays will be minimized. For example, we will be reporting to the President and the NEDA board quarterly on the progress of these projects. All the agencies have projects that are labeled as IFPs are required to report to us every month on the progress. And as I said earlier, ARTA, our regulatory, the agency that's mandated to look at all these regulations and particularly the issuance of permits, would have to look into and the President will be issuing, the Office of the President will be issuing directive to ARTA to ensure that the agencies, that no agencies will cause delay and any of these projects by way of delays in the issuance of permits and licenses.
Okay, thank you. And last question from Sam Medanilia, Business Mirror.
Mag-inquire lang po kami regarding, sir, dun sa yung out of dun sa 194 infra projects, ilan na po kaya yung dumaan sa feasibility study? At saka meron na po bang infra project from the previous administration yung na-scrap dun sa new lease? At ano po yung reason kung bakit po na-scrap? Thank you po.
As we said earlier, of the projects that were of these 194 projects, 71 of those were from previous administrations, particularly during the Duterte administration. No? And the basis for their inclusion there is this have been approved, and this had been before, and they have been already implemented. So in other words, they have started, and so we cannot discontinue any of those projects because if they are they have been proven to be useful for the economy, for our society, they must be completed. Otherwise, we waste opportunities. No? So I'm not aware of any of those projects that have met that criteria. We have established, by the way, guidelines and the selection of projects that can be included into the IFPs. So there are, number one, there is these projects are of national significance. They have been identified or they support sensitive to the priorities identified in the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, as well as in the 8-point socioeconomic agenda of the President. So there were criteria, and so each of those projects were ranked according to certain objective criteria. Okay. What's the second part of your question? That's it, no? The feasibility studies, yeah. Not all of this have complete feasibility studies. In fact, we have the data there. Let me just look at this. So, okay, out of the 194, for example, 95 are ongoing and have been approved for implementation. 8 have already secured government approval, so they have been approved by the approving authority. In most of these projects, it will be the NEDA board, and now the next stage is implementation. 47 of those are ongoing project preparations. So feasibility studies are being prepared, are being completed, and the remaining, the 44, are under pre-project preparation. Now, with respect to these projects that do not have yet feasibility studies, the instruction and the decision at the NEDA board this morning was to give priority for our DBM, to give priority to these projects insofar as providing funding for the preparation of these feasibility studies. If these are part of ODA, then usually the ODA source, like if it's World Bank or ADB, that usually comes also with feasibility studies. So, but for those that are locally funded, we have to produce those feasibility studies.
Okay, thank you. And really, the last one, Joyce Balancho, ABS-CBN.
Hi, sir. Just to follow up lang do sa 123 new projects under the Marcos admin, how many of these projects are from investment pledges from his previous out-of-country trips? And baka may update na rin kayo, sir, sa follow-up dun sa mga investment pledges.
Well, the investment pledges are not, these are for the private sector, no? Yang, magtatayo sila ng factories, hindi kasama dito yon. These are infrastructure projects, no? Irrigation, health facilities, highways, skyway, railways. Unless well, some of them will probably be investing into this infrastructure through PPP, no? But that is we'll know that as when you roll up the PPP. ODA, yes, of course, to the extent that the pledges were by foreign governments, then those could be ODA.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary Arsenio Balisacan of NEDA. Thank you for sharing the priority infrastructure flagship projects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good lunch, guys.
Thank you, Daphne.